All right, let's talk about the tournament, the rest of
Let's
the
do it.
tournament here. We'll start with the teams that won and have advanced to the Sweet 16.
Yes.
Texas Tech is the first one here, and it wasn't the smoothest.
Yeah.
Honestly, the Drake win might have been, smoother
I was about
than
to say the Drake win, I take a lot more from that than I
yes.
do the
UNC
first round win pissed me
Wilmington
off.
UNC Wilmington was kind of scary for a bit. I was like, is this going to be the it got to the point, and this was only on Thursday, so it was fine.
Yeah.
But like it was late Thursday, and we still hadn't had an upset. And we're
Right.
like, oh,
Is
is
this the
this going
one?
to be the one? Is this? It kind of felt that way with Michigan State Bryant as like the late game on Friday. We're like,
Yeah, that's a
oh,
good point too.
it's just something's cooking here. Something's going to happen. No,
Yeah.
it's all right. Everything's fine. Chance McMillan did not play in either one of these games, which is very, very noteworthy. Darren Williams did play, and I thought he was fantastic just in terms
Yes.
of his strength and just the way he plays. 28 points against Drake, 10 of 14 from two. Yeah, Darren Williams is awesome. So you have him, you have JT Toppin. I will talk about Elijah Hawkins a little bit, but yeah, those two are good enough to lead this team to an Elite Eight potentially. I
Yeah.
do think they do need Chance McMillan back at some point
Mhm.
in this, hopefully against Arkansas or the Elite Eight. But at the very least, two good wins advances to the Sweet 16 where they will play Arkansas.
Yeah, the UNC Wilmington game, I'll just say pissed me off. I'm watching that game and they are clearly the better team, the more talented team.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about I'll talk about the Drake game in a little bit, but like I think Grant McCaslin also saw what was happening and he made some. I think gave him a very stern talking to after that game because they put up 46 shots from beyond, 46, and they made 13 of them. Usually, when you put up 46, you're at least making 20 of them because you're shooting so well, right?
Yeah.
Elijah Hawkins, who had been the best guy on that team in terms of like knowing when to shoot,
Yes.
all of a sudden turned into Brandon Jennings on the Bucks, putting up the worst shot. There were so many fast break shots, fast break threes,
Yes.
where he's just pulling up. It's a 2v1 and he's pulling up from I'm like, what are you doing? Right? Darian Williams was like the only guy that was willing to put the ball on the floor, it felt like. Christian Anderson decided to take nothing but threes for some reason. Kerwin Walton, I thought Kerwin Walton actually played really well. He was their only consistent threat from three. So like I'm okay with him taking 19 because he made 8 of them, right? He made a good chunk of his threes. So and a lot of his, and by the way, I think I just realized he only took threes. He took 19 shots, all of them threes, made 8 of them, 27 points. Awesome. That's a guy who was put into the starting lineup with Chance McMillan out, right? So, or sorry, Christian Anderson was, but he knew he had to step up as an outside threat with Chance McMillan out. And so all of a sudden, like I'm okay with him taking that. He had a great number of shots. He was big in that game. Christian Anderson, Elijah Hawkins, and I think Grant McCaslin made this point for Drake, or must have made this point after the game, because JT Toppin had 8 shots in this game. That was frustrating me so much. Part of that was UNC Wilmington doubling him in the post, right? Was doing a good job of fronting him. But then Tech was just playing into their game, right? Tech was just like, okay, fine. JT's covered 3, 3, 3. And it was like, that's what was keeping UNC Wilmington in the game. And then against Drake, I think Elijah Hawkins heard everything because he only took 6 shots in that game. And he started to dial up. He started to basically, they looked like early on, they were feeding JT Toppin in the post, right? He finished 11 of 13, 25 points, 12 rebounds. Darian Williams, ball on the floor, 11 of 18, 28 points, right? 5 assists, right? So he was dishing as well. I think that Grant McCaslin, no joke, put something into that team, was like, we are not a jump shooting 40, 30 plus 3-point shooting team. That is just not who we are. We have 2 unguardable players, like you mentioned, that could carry us to the second round by themselves. And I think they finally got back to it. Kevin Overton played some really key minutes defensively. Didn't play that well. Didn't shoot the ball really that much. But again, defensively, I thought he was great. And in that second half in particular, that was as good as I've seen Texas Tech look this season. That was awesome. Like 40-34. Again, Drake put on a run late. It was not that close late. I think Drake put on a little bit of a run, but there was a run there where Tech was like, that's the Final Four team. I texted you where I was like, I basically said, like, I'm going to regret not putting Tech. After that run in particular, I'm going to regret not putting Tech or taking a chance on Tech in the Final Four.
Yeah, JT Toppinen's at 25 points, 12 rebounds. Like we said, Darian Williams was awesome as well. Elijah Hawkins, 7 assists, 0 turnovers. Had 16 points, but 10 of them were free throws. So it's like that's the Elijah
Got
Hawkins.
inside, like get inside, man. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the Elijah Hawkins. Like get to the free throw line, assist. Like he went 0 of 2 from 3. 2 is a fine number there. So
Yeah.
In terms of those two games, I was worried initially about the Drake game. Especially Drake shoots, 8 of 17 from 3 in this game.
I was about to say, so I texted you in the first half. Drake's half court offense was like slicing them. They were just going bucket for bucket in that first half, and I was like, what is happening here? And Ben McCollum's a good coach. He just got the Iowa job today, but I was really terrified in that first half.
So they move on to play Arkansas in the Sweet 16, and this is an Arkansas team that is playing very, very good basketball at this point.
Yes.
The Kansas game was very, very tight. Could have lost that game. Then they beat St. John's pretty good.
St. John's was in my Final Four, and they just took them to school. Like that was impressive, and it was not an argument. You covered the SEC this year. That was not something I expected from this Arkansas team in the tournament.
No, Arkansas, like they've said on the broadcast multiple times, started SEC play 0-5. Then Boogie Flan got hurt. They do have him back coming off the bench. But they don't even have Adu Thiero, who that's the reason I picked Arkansas to lose round 1. I was like, if Thiero's not healthy and Flan's like, coming off the bench, he's not even himself. How are they going to do this? They've done it. They've defended really well. This is Cal's best coaching job probably since 2019 when the last time they made the Sweet 16.
Right.
And so Arkansas is legit. They're athletic. They had 7 blocks against St. John's. Now St. John's and Arkansas. St. John's went 2 of 22 from 3. Arkansas went 2 of 19 from 3.
It was disgusting. It was
disgusting basketball to watch. But Arkansas ends up
also it helped that Patino benched RJ Lewis for like the whole last one, which is a huge talking point. But like it's probably not that hard for Arkansas to hold them off when their best players just benched for shooting poorly, I guess.
Yeah. So I will say Arkansas from a defensive perspective and from an athleticism perspective, I think has the tools to make it tough on Texas Tech from 2. Edu and Brazil are both really good athletes. They still have Big Z, even though I don't think he's played a ton in this tournament. Yeah, played 4 in 10 minutes. So they have some size that will give Texas Tech some issues, but I think the separator here needs to be, and I know we don't want Tech shooting a ton of them, but I do think that 3-point shooting is what separates these two teams. Arkansas can't shoot well. If Texas Tech, they don't even have to shoot great, but if they just shoot like, I don't know, 8 of 24 or 7 of 20 or something, like 33, 34% from 3, like if they hit shots, I think that's going to be enough to separate them here. And that's where I do still think they need Chance McMillan, at least like on the court in some capacity, because his shooting is just so valuable for this team. And as much as I like Kerwin Walton and, Kevin Overton off the bench and Christian Anderson sometimes, McMillan's on just a different level from those guys, to be frank.
No, I agree. You don't want them jacking bad shots, so therefore you want your best shooter on the floor, right?
Exactly.
And I think I wouldn't be surprised if we see Tech go at least experiment a little bit with going big, right? Like Federico, Toppin, and Williams on the floor to kind of match Arkansas' size. But I also wouldn't be shocked if McMillan's healthy, if they go small, right? If they go JT Toppin at the 5, maybe, and Williams at the 4, and then just kind of spread them out with shooters. So I'm curious to see how they play it. Arkansas and John Calipari. I mean, it's like you mentioned, this is one of John Calipari's best coaching jobs ever of his career. Probably top, as far as like coaching jobs, probably like top 5, no joke. This Arkansas team is talented, but they just hadn't been clicking. My only worry is that we finally get the Boogie Flan game, right? That'd of course be just like a gut punch to them. Hadn't played in like 2 months, and all of a sudden, he's been slow to start these games. So if we get the Boogie Flan game where he drops 20 and it's like, oh geez, there's the NBA prospect.
I mean, that's what Yeah, we've talked about it. Like Texas Tech's defense is definitely not their strength, and it's like opposing
Yeah.
guards can get going, like Boogie Flan, like a John L. Davis,
Yeah.
who again has been very pedestrian. He put up between 10 and like 15
Yeah.
most of the time. Like, but John L. Davis could, I don't know, hit like 4 threes or something like that.
Right. And I'll say like the good thing for Tech is they've played Tech or Arkansas, excuse me, has beaten two teams that have struggled on offense. Right. This is
Yes.
going to be by far the best team
Yes.
they've played offensively
Yes.
in a while.
Yes.
And you look at Kansas, right? They just had not looked that great on offense this year, even with Hunter
Yeah.
Dickinson, whether it's him slowing down the offense or whatever. And then in St. John's, they've basically been kind of like last year's version of Houston a little bit, where it's like they're crashing the offensive glass, they're playing incredible defense, and their offense just kind of spirals at times. And that's what eventually bit them. And I do wonder how much of that, when you're Arkansas keying in on defense and you're not the smoothest offense yourself, okay, what happens when you play a team that's kind of the opposite, where they can slice you up on offense, and then if they just get enough stops, they can blow this game out. So I'm going with Tech in this one, and I feel comfortable about it. But yeah, this one, it's always weird when you find the surging team in
Yeah.
March, and especially when they're led by a coach like Calipari.
I mean, hell, Arkansas is the Cinderella of this
But
tournament.
it's crazy. The SEC team has the Cinderella. The SEC conference has the Cinderella team.
Coach Calipari, Cinderella. Who knew? Here we are. Against Grant McCasland, the favorite.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, the juggernaut that is Grant
Yeah.
McCaslin. By the way, I did put this tweet out. North Texas, all over this tournament, man.
Mhm.
CJ Nolan, of course, got eliminated last night, but I saw him. I forgot he was in New Mexico.
Yeah.
Ruben Jones at Michigan still in. Aaron Scott at St.
Definitely.
John's, and then Jason Edwards was in the first round at Vanderbilt. So I was like watching. I was like, man, that program, man, they're just pumping out dudes. If they can just hold on to like a roster 1 year, they'd be in the tournament, man. Just 1 year. Let them hold on to a roster.
Sorry, we're gonna win the NIT again.
There you go.
Which was crazy game. Jasper
Yeah.
Floyd gets a game winner there.
Yeah.
Shout out to North Texas. Okay, Houston.
Whew.
We spent a lot of time on those first two topics here. I think Houston can be a little shorter, but I don't want to shortchange them because this was a huge win over Gonzaga here.
I was about to say we could just talk about the one game, the Gonzaga game.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about SIUE.
No, we're fine.
There. Houston beats Gonzaga 81-76. A game that I don't know. How did you feel? Houston jumped out on Gonzaga, and I was like, okay, cool, they got him. Take care of him. Gonzaga hung around for a bit, and honestly made it a game late. What was it? They cut it to 2 at one point, I believe.
They cut to 2. Yeah, they it was just a bad possession at the end to where they didn't get.
That's
they didn't
right.
They didn't get a good shot off
Yes.
to end the game. Like, again, I'll be candid. I had Gonzaga winning this game just because I felt that, one, everybody says it's the chalky tournament, and so I just felt like I had to pick some teams
For sure.
to pull them upsets. Gonzaga was the team that I think top 10 team in KenPom, underwhelming resume, so therefore they fall as a random 8 seed. I don't think that's fair to Gonzaga or Houston, right, to have to play each other in the second round. I think Gary Parrish mentioned that you can't use predictive metrics like KenPom always to make your case, but in the case like Gonzaga, if they fall in an 8 seed, but every number has them as a top 10 team, you can probably bump them up to a 7 to make sure that they get the 7-10 instead of the 8-9.
Yes.
But regardless, yeah, Houston jumps out to a massive lead. I think they were up almost 20 at one point, it felt like, or at least
let me find
12
it.
or 14.
I was in the
and yeah, I turned the game off. I was like, cool, we're done. Like, that was it. Houston's not going to let this up. And then Gonzaga, because of course, very good team, they just start bombing, right? I think they made, I'm trying to think.
They went 9 of 20 from 3.
Yeah, 9 of 20 from 3. And then I think at one point, both Houston and Gonzaga were hitting they both hit like 10 or 11 consecutive threes.
And Gonzaga went 15 of 15 from the free throw line as well.
Yeah. And you just saw okay, all of a sudden I look, it's like, it's a 1 possession game. What the hell's going on? Especially because Houston doesn't give up those type of leads. And that's what was, I mean, look, it's hard for me to say that I'm worried about Houston because by all the accounts, Gonzaga was a top 10 team in the country, right? And so I don't want to, they just happen to run into the second round. I'm going to look at the positives of this and say, this Houston team and these performances are why this is their best shot probably to win a national title, because you look at the defense, they're frustrating teams. And then you look at the shooting and they have the shooting to be able to, whenever you go on a 6-0 run, boom, 3-pointer. The run's dead, right? They're killing your run. LJ Cryer, Milos Uzan, Emmanuel Sharp, they're just going to kill your run, right? Like that. And they didn't have that shot making in years past from multiple players. And I think that's the difference from this team.
Yeah, because Gonzaga offensively was fine. I
Yeah,
mean,
they were good. Like in the second half, they really got going. But
yeah,
yeah, in the first half they were struggling a little bit,
yes,
and then
yes,
Houston
yes.
just wouldn't
Second
miss,
half,
obviously.
second half especially. I mean, they ended the game 19 assists to 11 turnovers. Like I said,
Yeah.
15 at the line. I mean, over 50% in from two, 45% from three. Like from Gonzaga's perspective, you couldn't have asked for a much better game, or you could have asked for a better start. But
Yep.
in terms of the overall game, this is a good look. The difference is LJ Cryer goes 6 of 11 from three and scores 30 points. And honestly, like we'll maybe do it like if they make the Final Four, but
Mhm.
the growth of LJ Cryer the past 3
Yes.
years.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I mean, this is a guy who at Baylor we were like, okay, he's just like this guy who comes off the bench and can shoot. Like he's a fine player, but
I
he's
mean,
not
Baylor
like
fans were like, "Cool, he's kind of a volume shooter." Like it's
yeah,
kind of,
like can't do anything else. And then it was like, oh well, does he want to play point guard? It's like cool, but no, now he has completely bought in to his
Yep.
role at Houston, and he's getting to shoot the ball 20 times, 18 times a game, and he's just filling it up. And I will say with Emmanuel Sharp, his injury throughout the year, like they've needed
Mhm.
Cryer to do this, and he's done it every step of the way. And Emmanuel Sharp, I think, is healthy now, but he still doesn't like scream like he's completely back to where he was before
Mhm.
the injury. So if they're
Right.
going to make this run, it's going to be on the back of LJ Cryer scoring like 20 points a game,
Yeah.
and that's an awesome story for a kid that like 3 years ago, like we said, was like, okay, I don't really know if he can be much on a title contender or a Final Four team,
Mhm.
but here we are, and he's like their leading scorer now. So
Yep.
we know about Jawan Roberts, and we know about the rebounding and the defense of this team. But like you said, the offensive ability of him, Milos Uzan is incredible.
Yeah, he's
I
his last month has been like one of the best in the country.
This guy, man. I know he only scored 7 points, but you just watch the games and he's in total
Yeah.
control
Yeah.
out there. So yeah, Houston is rolling. I think like the winner of this game was always going to be the favorite to make it out of the region. They won this game. Now they have Purdue, who isn't even as good as Gonzaga, I don't think.
I don't think so
And
either.
so I think they're going to take care of Purdue, and then they'll have either Tennessee or Kentucky after that.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to be fine in those games too, honestly. So I think this is set up very, very nicely for Houston now to make a Final Four.
I like Tennessee better. If it's Kentucky, I agree. I think that, they've beaten Mark Pope before.
Yeah.
They've beaten that offense before and when he was at BYU. I think Tennessee gives them a little bit different of a matchup because obviously their defense, but
Yeah.
we'll see. But yeah, I agree. Gonzaga's better than Purdue, so I definitely agree that they should be the heavy favorites there.
Okay, Texas A&M. We'll get to the losers now.
Mhm.
Did you have this on your bracket? Did you have A&M making it, or did you have Michigan?
I had A&M making it. Look, we'll get to a topic in a little bit about like teams you wish you would have bet on and teams you didn't wish you would have bet on. One of my teams I wish I would have bet on is Michigan. Um, just because I mean we've seen Dusty May do this, right? We've seen him take a team that probably isn't as talented or as
Yeah,
polished as everybody else and take them to a deep run. And I just completely like when when they beat UC San Diego, who I had them losing to in the first round, for most of that game, right? They controlled that game, and then you see them against A&M, and they just completely get in the mud with A&M and say, "Cool, you want a mud fight? We're gonna win a mud fight, and we're gonna make you look dumb in a mud fight." And they did. Like they both shot horribly in this game. I think they both shot over 23s, under 30%, both teams, and they win by double digits.
yeah.
It's like it's like, okay, cool. A&M, you want to have an offensive rebounding battle fight. You want to do all this. Cool, we'll win both. We'll win both, right? Vlad Golden is going to be the best player on the floor. You
Yeah.
can't stop him, right? And it's like when you're A&M and your free throw thing's not working, or it is working, but like they're outscoring you anyway.
I
I don't know, man. It was bad. Bad Zurich Phelps game as well.
Mm,
You didn't get what you needed from him. Wade Taylor, unfortunately, not the game he wanted to have in his final game. Fouled out. Yeah,
yeah. So this is why I picked Michigan.
yeah,
This game went exactly how I thought it was gonna go
hmm
before the tournament started. Um, because I thought Michigan with this size was going to be able to, if they really focused, they were going to be able to keep A&M like from dominating the glass.
hmm
And they did. Like Vlad and Danny Wolf are 2 7-footers here.
yeah,
And as much as I love A&M's Anderson Garcia and Henry Pullman and all these 6'7", 6'8" guys that are just really, really good rebounders, like when you play 2 7-footers, especially in a win or go home game like this, like there's only so much you can do. So
hmm
Wolf and Golden end with 9 and 12 rebounds. They both end with 3 blocks. Like they both shoot over 50% from the field. Like those guys just dominate the game. And then you have
yeah,
Reuben Jones, who's 6'5", who we know is a very good defender out there. And he
hmm
even hit some shots. And Amari Burnett out there, 6'5", who can do some things. So it's like they just come at you with enough size and defense that I was like, A&M's guards have to be spectacular. And I was just betting on like one of them being off. And honestly, like both of them were
yeah,
off here. And they led by 10 with 13 minutes left in the second half. And I was like, wow, I guess A&M's just going to do this somehow because their defense is going to just clamp down. Well, in the final 13 minutes-ish, Michigan scored
mhm,
41 points. Like
yeah,
the defense just collapsed and Michigan took control and won the game. So it's not like I'm not going to say like this was a dominant effort from Michigan start to finish. No,
yeah.
but eventually it felt like they just wore them down. And honestly, just watching the game, I thought Michigan got consistently better offense even from the jump. Like I was like watching the game and it's like, okay, well the shots aren't going in, but I just trust Michigan like to find something, and they did eventually.
Yeah. Yep. And it felt like it also we hit the hard ceiling with A&M in this game. Right. I thought this was a team that was talented enough to make an Elite Eight, possibly a
They
Final
needed
Four,
a
you know.
better matchup, I'll say. If they would have
Sure, sure.
faced
Yeah, I think so. I think so. That's fair.
somebody
That's
else,
fair.
like if they would have faced honestly, like even give me like a Michigan State or give me
Yeah.
a Arkansas or something like that. Arkansas may have
Yeah.
been tough, but like Kentucky or something like that. I
Yeah, I know
don't know.
what you
I feel
mean.
like they could have had a better Purdue, but
Yeah.
this just felt like a bad matchup.
Yep. That's fair.
Okay, the
Want
last
to talk
team on
about
the
a team
men's
that had
side.
no shot?
Last team on the men's side here. The Baylor Bears
Oh
beat
my
Michigan,
god.
beat Mississippi State.
They
We,
did beat
we
Mississippi
have to
State,
start
which
there.
wasn't a guarantee.
It was not a guarantee at all. They were
Yeah.
underdogs in this
Yeah.
game, and I picked them to win because because of VJ Edgecombe and because I thought they could slow down Hubbard a little bit. They didn't slow down Hubbard
I
at
was
all.
about to say they didn't slow him down. They just made sure nobody else really did much.
Yeah, nobody else on that team, which I said as well. Nobody else on that team can do anything.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, it's Josh Hubbard and nobody else, and that's what it was.
He almost got it
And
done though.
Rob Wright, 19 points, VJ 14, Omir 12, Love 15. Love being back at this level for them is really important. I don't think I put enough into that late in the
Yeah.
year.
Mhm.
Because it means they don't have to rely as much on Jaden Nunn. And no
Yes.
offense to Jaden Nunn, but like if Langston Love's clicking, he's physical, he's strong, he can shoot. Like he just gives them more of that. So
Yep.
I did want to give him a shout out as well. But this was a good win over Mississippi State, a game that I think they pretty much controlled. Yeah, they were up like 11 with 8 minutes left. They took it and ran. So this was a good win for Baylor. They needed this. They needed that win. If
Yeah.
in a season that was very streaky, to get a win over an SEC team like that, I think is a good way to end the season before they had to go
100%.
against Duke.
100%. All right. Yeah. I mean, what are you gonna do? What are
Oh,
you gonna
then
do?
yeah, then they played Duke.
What are you gonna do? Cooper Flag's healthy, and even if Cooper Flag wasn't healthy, they probably didn't need him in this game. Tyrese Proctor was incredible. Con Kneppel, I think, is going to be like a future NBA All Star. Like this team's so stacked, and it was just unfair. I think you can summarize this game by the fact that Duke had Tyrese Proctor just absolutely diming, or excuse me, nailing from three, and then you had Con Kneppel kind of picking and prodding at the offense. And then on the other side, you have the former team captain not starting for Baylor.
Yeah.
Right? I think you can summarize both team seasons in that, where it's like Duke reloaded, cool. Jeremy Roach gone, awesome. Insert Proctor and Kneppel. And Baylor put a lot of their eggs in the basket of Jeremy Roach, as Scott Drew had done every year. Basically, experienced point guard comes in, boom, he takes the reins, there he goes.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work out. They're end of the season starting Rob Wright, which I think was the right move. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, like and this is a game, and this is, if they were gonna have any chance, they needed Jeremy Roach to do something, because we knew that they were gonna rely on Edgecombe, but we knew that they couldn't just rely on Edgecombe. And yeah, I mean, Duke's looked like one of the 3 best teams in the stand so far.
Yeah, my national title pick for a reason. This team is rolling people right now. Pulled away. I didn't even watch the last like 10 minutes or so.
No, I was like, cool, is it done?
Y'all got it. It's
Y'all
cool.
got it.
So Baylor, we'll do a postseason autopsy after the year, but that was a good year. I just not quite enough, especially not enough size. Just really tough to match up with Duke when you don't have any size.
Yeah.
Okay. One team you wish you believed in more, and one team you had too much faith in. Ish, you go first.
I mentioned my team I wish I would have had more faith in was Michigan, just purely because of Dusty May. They looked really good. I mean, like, even again, I think UC San Diego was a really good team, and they were able to hold off a really fun, by the way, shout out Tyler McGuy of Denton Geyer.
Yes, I'm a guy.
That was awesome. I forgot he was on that team. And Aniwaniwa, Tate Jones fouled out and had like a horrible game, and they needed somebody, and he was the one that ended up being their leading scorer. But yeah, definitely Michigan for me. I wish I would have actually just like trusted Dusty May to get things going. One team I regret, I don't want to say A&M just because like that's an easy one to be like, oh, they didn't make it that far. And like I could easily pick 2 of my Final Four teams, right? Gonzaga and St. John's. But
your bracket's in the dirt.
Oh yeah, my bracket's done.
It's done.
St. John's, whatever. It happens. Gonzaga, I knew was a stretch pick. I don't regret picking that. But I'll say, do you have one off the top of your head for my team that I wish I didn't? I put too much in.
I put too much pressure on New Mexico, and I had them in my Elite 8, and I don't even regret it. Like, I watched. First of all, they beat Marquette, and they beat the heck out of them. So I was feeling good at that point. Everybody who watched New Mexico in that game was like, "Wow, this is a good team." And I was like, "Yeah, I got them in my Elite 8. Feel smart, right?" And then they played Michigan State, and they led at halftime, and ultimately the difference, New Mexico just couldn't get the Donovan Dent game that they needed. They needed Donovan Dent. That's when you were a slower seed making these runs, you need that one guy to just kind of take over at times, and they couldn't get the Donovan Dent game. And Michigan State is not even that great. They just ran in transition.
They haven't looked really good. No,
I was just like, man, and then I had Ole Miss advancing too, so I had Ole Miss versus New Mexico, and Ole Miss won. So I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is the run. And then Michigan State ends up coming back and winning. So I put too many of the eggs in that basket. Anybody who just went chalk this year, congratulations to y'all.
I was about to say, like that, we could have went chalk, and it was the chalkiest bracket, so like we probably should have, but like that's not fun.
Yeah, I mean, it was all the 1 and 4 seeds except Michigan. Michigan's a 5 seed. And then it's 6-2, 3-10, 3-2, and 6-2. So
Illinois is mine. I put too much in Illinois. They've always, I don't know why, they always disappointed when it comes to that's kind of been the story with them under Brad Underwood, is that they've looked really good at times, and this wasn't one of their more talented teams. But I think I had them in the Elite 8. So
Well, I have an answer for the first one. A team I wish I had more faith in. A team who I made a freaking TikTok about, saying how good they were, saying how they had been on a roll, saying how they're going to make a run in March, and here I am picking VCU over BYU. What am I thinking?
Yes, no, BYU. Yes, BYU should have. Yes, 100%.
What am I thinking? I literally watched this team. I was like, man, this team's good throughout the year. And then I see VCU. I'm like, oh, hold on.
BYU is my pick too. That's actually really good.
And then I'm just, my brain malfunctions, and I picked VCU to beat BYU. and
Yeah.
BYU is now in the Sweet 16. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if they beat Alabama at this point. Like, I think BYU is playing awesome basketball right now.
They
So
yeah,
that just
it's funny how I think it was Matt Norland who mentioned the domino effect of Matt Golke and Oakland beating Kentucky. Because like every school that's
yeah.
like impacted from that is like better off probably now. Because like Calipari left, he's at Arkansas, they advance. Kentucky, Mark Pope, they advance. BYU, Kevin Young, they advance. So like
Mhm.
everybody in that domino in that three-way, like all of a sudden is better off. And then yeah, so it was very interesting to see that. But yeah, I mean, BYU, yeah, they've looked really good. Kevin Young's really got them going. They're playing. They don't just rely on the 3-point anymore, and so yeah, they have like actually like half court sets,
They got some
and
athletes, they got some size, like, it's a good team. So
yeah, so
that's
that's a
gonna
good one.
bother me more
I
than
agree with that
anything
one.
else, is
Yeah.
why I didn't pick BYU when I've loved them for the entire year. Just ugh, okay. Let's
All
talk about
right.
the women's side.
Yep.
TCU
We should
beats
mention, by the way, Texas playing Illinois later today, so we're recording a little early. They should take care of business, but we'll see.
if they lose to Illinois,
It's
brother.
over.
Yeah. Yes. TCU beat FDU in a game that was uncomfortable early, but then they pulled away, which has been the case for a lot of the top seeds in
Yeah.
this tournament. Like UCLA and South Carolina have been playing with their food. TCU ends up pulling away against Fairleigh Dickinson, and then they played Louisville in the Haley Van Lith game that the NCAA has been trying to make happen for multiple
Yeah.
years now. And now they got it.
They
And
got it.
I watched the first half,
Mhm.
and Curry for Louisville was going crazy.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was like,
She scored
okay.
40, over 40,
And she
41
scored
was it?
41. And I
Jesus.
was like, good for you. But they have nothing else on that team.
Right.
And TCU was just like, all right, you can score 41, but we're just going to score like 85 points. And
Yeah.
just there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And so they pulled away and won. I thought Van Lith as a point guard looked good. Prince was good. Like they just controlled it, and nothing really surprised me in terms of what they were able to do against
Mhm.
Louisville. The question now becomes for me, and I don't know if you have anything else on TCU Louisville before we go to the Notre Dame game,
No,
but
no. I mean, it's a good moment. It's a great moment for them. I believe that was the biggest crowd in Schollmeyer, at least for women's basketball, at Schollmeyer for TCU. So awesome, awesome crowd. By the way, men, we should just host the games on the men's side. It looks better. But regardless, like
yeah, I wouldn't mind that at all.
whatever happens with this Notre Dame game, successful season for TCU.
Yes,
Like incredibly historic, successful season. That, by the way, is not going to fall off because they got Maddie Sher coming in. So even if they, when they lose Haley Van Lith and Sedona Prince, Mark Campbell's shown to be able to reload and do whatever he needs to get this team, talented again. So whether this was, it felt like it was weird because it felt like an end of season moment, because everybody's crying on the court and everybody's like, everybody's
yeah,
celebrating. So it felt like a very storybook, but they do have another game coming up. And they could still continue this run, but it did feel like the send off they deserved, regardless of whatever happens against Notre Dame.
yeah. I know Olivia Miles got hurt the first game, but I believe she came back and
She came back. Yeah.
she came back. She was fine for
Yeah.
the second game. This is one. I mean, I
She had like
picked
a
Notre
step back three. She
Dame.
was fine.
I picked Notre Dame, and I still will pick Notre Dame in this
Yeah.
game. Notre Dame, I watched them play Stephen F. Austin the first game. This will be our Stephen F. Austin segment of this podcast as well. Stephen F. Austin went up 6-0, and then it just rained
Yeah.
hell for the rest of the game, and it was
Yeah.
over.
Oh, yeah.
So shout out
Oh,
Stephen F. Austin. Came out swinging for a minute there.
it was
But
fun. It was fun for a little bit.
yeah, fun for a little bit. I told you my new favorite meme template is the Patrick Star walking into the Krusty Krab and just
Just getting fried.
getting fried. Yeah, getting obliterated. I was like, there's Stephen F. Austin right there. But I do think this is gonna be a tough matchup for TCU still. Now, not saying they can't win it, not saying they won't win it. Like there's a chance. But I'm just gonna lean Notre Dame still. I think this is a tough matchup. I think TCU is still in this game. I struggle to see how they really slow down Notre Dame, especially in the open court. I think Notre Dame can kind of speed the game up to a level
Mhm.
where TCU, as much as I wonder, I don't have it in front of me, how fast does TCU play? I feel like they don't play really fast.
Yeah.
I feel like they play obviously very, very efficient, but in
Mhm.
terms of like pace, I don't know where they stand in that regard. So as I'm looking that up, you can give any more of your thoughts for Notre Dame TCU.
No, like I think after the game, Mark Campbell mentioned how
Oh
like,
my gosh, sorry, I'm right. Yeah, they play 303rd in tempo.
oh yeah,
Like
they're not fast.
yeah, we know them for their half court offense and what they
Yeah,
do in that setting.
yeah,
I think Notre Dame is going to be able to kind of turn up the pace a little bit with Hidalgo and Miles and just kind of run up and down. Yeah, they're 12th. Notre Dame is 12th in tempo. Good.
there you
My
go.
eyes never deceive me. Ish. Sorry. Go ahead.
But yeah, like I think Mark Campbell mentioned this where he's like, hey, they have a special backcourt, right? Like Notre Dame, right? Livy Miles, Hannah Hidalgo. The difference is going to be, is Sedona Prince the best forward on the floor, right? And I think she can be. I know that Liatu King is going to have a big role for Notre Dame. She's their leading rebounder. Keeping Sedona Prince off the glass is going to be massive. But also those moments where they go a little small, right? Where they go Sonia Citron as their four a little bit. They're going to run that at times. That's when TCU is going to have to just go at it, because Haley Van Lith, as great as she is, she's not gonna outperform both Hannah Hidalgo and Olivia Miles, right?
Yeah.
But also Madison Connor. Hello, you have to have a good game, right? She
Yeah.
just has to play a good game. I'm not saying she has to drop 30, but she's gonna have to. Again, it's hard to say match Olivia Miles, but like, you know what I mean? She's going to have to hold up
Yes,
her end of the
sure.
bargain, where
Hmm?
they're in so many games. I'm looking at the South Carolina game. I'm looking at the other games where they just got blown out and she looks lost. She cannot look lost in this game.
Yeah, I agree. Um, when that is March 29th at 3:30 or 1 of the two. It doesn't
Yeah.
say on here for sure, but one of those times
Yeah.
in the afternoon.
Yeah. I think
Um,
that's right. Cause the games are finishing up today. So they're still deciding on times.
Texas will play Illinois, like we said,
Yep.
today at 1 o'clock. Then they'll play Tennessee, who Tennessee got the road win over Ohio State, and I'm not really worried
That
about
was a
that.
great game too.
Yes, I'm not really worried about that. I think Texas should be able to handle Tennessee.
Mhm.
When they played earlier this year, let me pull up the score in that one real quick. They won 80-76. I think this is a team that Tennessee is a tough team to figure out, first of
Yeah.
all, but I think Tennessee is talented. Obviously, they played an incredibly unique style that is frustrating to watch from my perspective, because
Mhm.
sometimes it just leads to like uncontested layups and terrible
Mhm.
shots. But I do think Texas discipline is good enough here to take care of Tennessee, especially in this setting where it's
Yeah.
they're gonna have time to game plan for them and everything like that. I think Texas will take care of it. So
Yep.
no real concern for me on that end. The intrigue comes with the Elite Eight game potentially
Yeah. Nope.
against TCU
None for
or
me
Notre
either.
Dame. And then a couple team or the one team here that we'll talk about that lost, Baylor.
Yeah.
They first of all, they beat Grand Canyon, who
Mhm.
we said on this podcast was going to be a tough out because this is a team that's better than the 13 seed. They beat them 73-60. Not a comfortable game, but they
Mhm.
kept them at distance, around 10 points for most of it. Then they play Ole Miss, and I don't remember if I texted you or I was texting you at the time, but I also
Mhm.
texted I think my friend. I was like, I just feel like they have more talent here. Like I feel like they
Yeah.
shouldn't
Yeah.
really lose this game. And especially with Dariana Little Page Bugs back, like I love that group that they had on the court. Jada
Yeah.
Walker, Sarah Andrews, Little Page Bugs, Bella Fauntleroy, Erinette Von Lay. Like that is a really good five.
Mhm.
It's just it wasn't. Ole Miss did exactly what we were worried they were gonna do. They just forced a bunch of turnovers, and Baylor didn't have enough,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
they got out and running, right? And I think that's where we saw. I think Baylor was the more talented team, but it felt like Ole Miss was the more athletic team, right? It looked like they had the
Yep.
bigger, like obviously Von Lay gives Baylor a lot of adequate size. Darian Little Page Bugs obviously gives them a lot of adequate size, but it just felt like top to bottom, Ole Miss was just the bigger team and the lengthier team. And when you get out, you have a lot of foot races with turnovers and things like that. And it just felt like Baylor was outmatched at times in the physical department. Um, every time they got a turnover, every time they were on a fast break, I just felt like it was a guaranteed Ole Miss bucket. Granted, it didn't. Look, this wasn't a blowout, right? This wasn't a game
No,
that
no,
Baylor
it's a
just
good
got
game.
played off the floor, but
No,
it
it's a
felt
good
like
game.
in those 50-50 chances, which was the concern, right? We were worried that Ole Miss would beat them up a little bit, and that's kind of what happened. And of course, late, Ole Miss just hit some big shots. Like, I mean, late
Madison
on,
Scott.
I believe it was with 40 seconds left, tie game. I forgot who it was. I think it was
I think it was
Madison. Yeah,
Madison
Madison
Scott.
Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah, Madison Scott hits this crazy pull up, and then she just takes over the game entirely, like all
Hmm.
together. Just like it just becomes a Madison Scott game.
So one of my friends asked me, "Is like, is Madison Scott the best player on this court?" And I was like, if you had asked me before the game, I would have said no, because I think
Right.
like Von Lay probably. But Madison Scott took over. Like, that's the separator here. Is like, if when they needed buckets, they knew where they were going. Now,
Yeah.
Ole Miss is a very, offensively one-dimensional team,
Mhm.
but I mean, they did enough. And Baylor is not a team that's going to turn people over. It doesn't make them super uncomfortable physically. Like, Baylor had 21 turnovers, and Ole Miss had 13. Like,
Yeah.
there's 8 possessions right there. And then Ole Miss also out rebounded them. And then the difference in the game needed to be the 3-point shooting, and it wasn't. Both teams
Mhm.
hit 2. So that's gonna do it. We said it going into it. You need Sarah Andrews to have a reasonably big game. She had 14 points. She wasn't
It's
bad.
fine. Yeah.
But then like Bella Fauntleroy 4, Yaya Felder 2. Like they needed all hands on deck. Aaliyah Matharo
Yeah.
14 minutes 0.
I was about to say, yeah, Leah Matharu kind of
Like
disappearing after she had
that
finally returned back to herself was just like
man,
frustrating.
dude. We're gonna look back on this year. There's too much talent here
Yeah.
to lose in this game at home against Ole Miss. This was a
Yeah.
pretty frustrating loss.
Yeah.
Um, Now it's not like a massive indictment on like the Baylor program, I don't think, but this was like
No, no.
you put a lot of eggs into this basket. And I think it's fair to be upset with like the result here, losing at home to an Ole Miss team that like I don't like I think is good, but
Yeah.
it's not like you were playing Texas. It's not like you were playing like an Oklahoma or something here. You were playing Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a frustrating loss.
Yeah. For sure.
All right, a team that you wish you had more in, a team you had too much faith in here ish for the women's side.
For the women's side, yeah,
This
this
one's
one's
harder
tough.
because there's really very few upsets to go
I was
off.
about to say, yeah, there was like not much chalk, or there's a lot of chalk. Oh, that's a good one. And also, like, I'm in like the 98th percentile, so like I haven't had any big
Mm.
regrets,
Oh yeah,
obviously.
I have a perfect bracket. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't even know where I am on my women's one. I picked way too
Um,
many upsets on the
maybe
women's
a team
side.
that I haven't.
Here,
Trying to
I
think.
can go.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
I
Go
had
ahead.
too many upsets going. Um, and yeah, and it's not done yet. I feel pat myself on the back for picking Kansas State over Kentucky. Now that was a
That's a good one.
fantastic game.
That was an awesome game.
Just unbelievable
Just
game there
buckets
where
after buckets.
I feel bad for Georgia Amore missing that floater.
Oh, that's such
But
a brutal way for a career to end, man.
yeah, that hurts. But I did pick Kansas State there, so I'll say that's
There you go.
oh no. Oh, team I had too much faith in Vanderbilt. Lost
Yep.
overtime. We
Yep.
can
Yep.
swing this back around to Texas too, because Deja Kelly's the one that put them
Yeah.
away a little bit
Yeah.
there.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, I had Vanderbilt going really far, like unreasonably far. So
Okay.
they end up losing to Oregon in the first round.
Um, one that I'm one that I'm a little interested in. I have a lot of eggs in the West Virginia basket, and they
Mm,
play today. They
mm,
play North Carolina today, right? I do. Let me say this: I do like them versus Duke because I do not think Duke's looking very mid in my opinion. But I do worry a little bit about them versus North Carolina. So that's my one. Maybe I put a little bit too much in them just because if they get to Duke, I think they can beat Duke. Um, one that I didn't put enough in. Mm,
huh.
yeah, I'm kind of. You know what? No, they play today, but I think I'm gonna go LSU. I'm really. I have them. I didn't have. I think I had them in losing to. Again, they make it the Elite Eight, but like I really like what they've done so far.
I
I
mean,
think
dude,
they've
yeah,
obviously they won.
UCLA's been freaking tied at halftime and
Yeah.
like
So like
against Southern and Richmond. I'm like, UCLA, are y'all all right over there?
yeah. So
What's going on?
I'm again. LSU plays today. They've only played one game. They blew out whoever they played. But like,
San Diego State.
I'm looking at them like, okay, maybe I should have had them in my Final Four. We'll
Yeah,
see.
if they're locked in, it's interesting. I will say Florida State is a fascinating team with Tanai Latson and
Mhm.
number 9 offense in the country. Florida State, like I think Florida State could give them like for 3 quarters, give them some fits for a while, and then maybe they pull away. But like that's gonna be I'm very interested to see tonight how LSU Florida State plays out because that's 2 of the top 10 offenses in the country.
Yep.
So. Yeah, team maybe I put too much faith in. Oh no, I'm sorry. A team that I wish I put more faith in.
Mhm.
Um, I guess Tennessee. I picked Ohio
Mhm.
State.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Fair.
Ohio State was in no way better than Tennessee. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll
No.
see. All right. That's all we got for y'all today. Hope y'all enjoyed it. An hour podcast there to get y'all through the Tuesday, Wednesday drought of basketball. It's gonna feel like a drought. We have no games for 2 days after having all these games. But yeah, thank y'all for joining us. Leave us a comment, share, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave us 5-star rating and review on the audio side. Great weekend of basketball. More great basketball ahead. We'll have more content on the way. So yeah, stay tuned to Dave Campbell's Texas Football YouTube channel for all of our podcasts, and we will talk to y'all later.